Hi, everyone. This is Jim Ross with the Self Storage Show. And today we're going to be doing a vendor spotlight. I have Damon Emerson, CEO of Storage Shield, with me today. How's it going, Damon?
Going good, Jim. Thank you for having me. Thank you for doing this.
No, of course. These are always fun. It's a little more of a intimate look between the people and the businesses or the vendors in the storage industry. So I'm glad you're a willing participant in doing this.
The intimate side of Damon.
We should do that. That's perfect. All right, moving on. Anyway, with Storage Shield, I mean, just kind of give us a kind of a brief rundown of what that is, and we'll get into this.
So Storage Shield is a protection program. So what we've done is we've created and developed just a different way of looking at a protection program. Different than the industry is used to seeing, built more around transparency.
Good. I try to live by that transparency. So the more companies that can use that, the better.
Well, I always find in my career, transparency has been a big part of why I have it, right? Like I've just tried to take that approach to, well, I try to take that approach to life, but I think within storage, the reason a big part I have my career is because I've tried to be as transparent as possible.
Well,
I just think it's important.
Let's get into that. Actually, I want to kind of hear, because again, you've been around for a long time in storage in different capacities. So yeah, kind of let us know how you got to this point now.
I'm almost 15 years, which is, it's interesting when you kind of step back and look and go, oh my God, it's been 15 years, right? I've been married. Last fall, I celebrated 20 years, and it's like, that was like a drop in the bucket. I couldn't even believe it, right? Well, you start looking at this career. I was working with QVC, and I was working a call center agent trying to figure out my next career. And the CEO of QVC went on a big vacation, came back and closed down an entire office. So I was jobless for about 3 months. And fortunately, Donna Plummer, who is, or was, I think she just retired, the head of the call center for You Store It, now CubeSmart, called me because she was my boss at QVC. And she said, Damon, I've got an opportunity for you. It's going to be a little odd, but I need you to trust me. It's not anything you think about. And I said, well, okay, that's interesting. She went out of her way to find me. What is it? And she brought me in and she said, do you know self-storage? And the only thing I knew was when I was 18 years old or 19, I stored at a public storage, had things stolen. There was a guy at the front desk with hardly any teeth, right? Like every worst case scenario. So that was my vision. That's what I knew. And I initially wasn't sure I wanted to do it. And then my wife, Amy, goes, listen, you've been someone who your entire life had said you'll ever look at an opportunity, you'll always do it. And now all of a sudden you've chosen not to with someone that you trust. She goes, get out of your own head and just get over yourself. And you're right. So I ended up joining You Store It, and I helped develop their call center, took the first call, made the first reservation. 10 days later, they come to me and they say, Dean Jernigan had this program with Storage USA, and it was a lead generation, and no one has ever wanted to do anything with it. If you're interested, you're a go-getter. You don't seem to take no for an answer, and you're not scared of anything. Would you be interested in running with this? I kind of went, well, yeah, why not? Yeah. And I just jumped into it. And the only way I've ever known how to do anything is you got to get as much information as possible, right? And the only way I knew how to do it, I wasn't a fan of cold calling, but it's the only thing I knew that I had to do. And I just started calling owner operators. And that move alone is what I will credit for my amazing growth. Well, that's embarrassing. My phone, sorry. With my amazing growth in self-storage is I started reaching out to the top 25, top 30, top 50 owners in self-storage. And I just said, hey, listen, I'm new in this industry. I was given this opportunity with You Store It. We're one of the REITs, and owners just would either talk to me or they'd be like, no, why would we give you any information? You're a REIT. We're not going to do that.
Sure.
And I ended up having about 7 or 8 owners talk to me, and those 7 or 8 then had to meet me at a trade show because they couldn't figure out how someone out of the blue was just brazen enough to just reach out and start asking random questions. And then those meetings and opportunities introduced me to more owners. And it was how I was introduced, which is crazy. yeah, you know, this guy works for you store, and he just reached out of us out of the blue. Seems to know his stuff for someone who just started. It's been interesting, and then people just wanted to talk and wanted to listen, and I kind of shared what I was doing, and that led me to signing up companies. We were a lead generation. I've joked. I don't know if everybody remembers the old U.S. Self Storage Search. Nick Beleva, Mike Jones had this amazing lead generation program, and then Sparefoot came aboard about 3 months after I had created or developed the UStore network.
Oh,
So we were kind of Sparefoot before Sparefoot. And then almost 3 years in, I get recruited at an airport in Charlotte from one of my clients, PFG Capital, to help with the growth as they were developing a tenant insurance program. And conversation in an airport, I have an interview a week later. 3 weeks later, I'm offered this great opportunity, and it advanced my growth into self-storage. And over a decade plus, we became the fastest growing tenant insurance program. We, in 2019, bought our main competitor, Bader Insurance, and on the same day, Storable bought us.
oh,
So
really?
then, yeah, that was an interesting. And during that process, Amy and I had been going through the adoption process to finally become parents. And it was just a whirlwind of, I mean, I honestly probably can't tell you exactly everything. I just know at one moment I'm like, hey, I think we're going to adopt. We're going to have, oh, wait. All right. Now we're selling the company. All right. Okay. Well, now we got to do a new PAT, right? So for a couple of years, I was able to get to understand and know Storable intimately. I'd already known the tenant insurance for, at that point, 8, now 10 years when I left last May. And that is what kind of the crux of my career came to, just this amazing, I guess, crescendo, as you can call it. In the fall, I get a random call. I was at a frustrating place trying to figure out, okay, the next step in my career. And I get this call from John Manus, who I had met 13 and a half years ago. He was with Uncle Bob's. I was with UStore, and a mutual connection kept saying, you guys have to meet. Like,
Yeah.
you guys have to meet. You guys are great friends. You guys would love each other. And sure enough, we just got along from the very second we talked. Took a couple shots at each other. Just, it was like a brother.
Aw.
So he calls out of the blue and says, hey, how you doing? And I was at a moment where I just kind of unleashed for 30 minutes. Just, I was frustrated, and I'm like, you know, what's going on? I can't believe this. I just had something frustrating happen. And he goes, well, hold on, Dave. He goes, you know how I've always told you I'm going to pay you back someday? You know, and I'm sitting, I'm frustrated. I'm like, yeah, what does that mean, John? Like, what? Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, 13 and a half years ago, Damon, you did something for me that no one did. He goes, I was laid off, and he was laid off from Uncle Bob's. And he goes, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was frustrated. And you were the only friend I had in self-storage that went out of their way to call every single owner you knew and just talk to him about getting me an interview. He goes, and it's true. I mean, I did do that, but it's what you do for friends. It's what I will always do for friends. It's what I do today, right? 4 months after that, I connected him with an owner in Houston. He had called me, and he goes, Damon, I don't think you know what you did. He goes, but I'll never forget it, and I don't know how I'll repay you. He goes, but you changed my life. He goes, and I will pay you back someday. And I just go, well, John, that's not why I did it. Like, you're my friend. Like, I'm just happy. Like, the industry needs you.
Yeah.
So fast forward to last fall, John sells, 15 facilities. It was kind of the peak for him. He had built this great company and just growth and done everything. And he was at that point. What's his next move? And he goes, Damon, it's amazing that we're talking. He goes, I've decided that I want to invest in people. He goes, and you have been the number one person that I've wanted to invest in a long time. And he's always said, I don't know my value. He goes, Damon, you need to know your worth in self-storage. Everybody knows you. Everybody wants to talk to you. He goes, and you handle yourself, incredible. He goes, I want to invest in you. And I go, John, what does that mean?
Yeah.
He goes, I want to make you my business partner and give you ownership in this company called Storage Shield that we brought up and developed for our own facilities. And we'd like to introduce it to the industry. And I go, what is that? Wait, you want to do what? And he goes, I want to make you an owner in the company. He goes, Damon, it's time that you no longer work for somebody else. It's time that you get to share what you know and the knowledge in the industry based off of Damon Emerson. He goes, and you are one of the most important people that I know. And and I want to give this to you because you've given to everybody without asking. And I just kind of sat there, and it's taken until I think recently to not get a little emotional, as tacky as that sounds, but it's a very surreal thing. Nobody does that for people, right? Like, I have tried my entire career, and I acknowledge this. I don't have my career without the people that helped me. And because of that, it's my responsibility to do this each and every new person I come across, or even if it's a veteran who needs help. Like, I will stop and just give my time because I think it's the only way I know how to be as a human being. And I'm very fortunate. I mean, I will forever be grateful for John. And he's teaching me. I get to learn. I'm learning a different side of things, which is pretty amazing for being in this industry of 15 years, still being able to take a step back and learn. Like, I love this, right? And I'm getting to do more than I ever, I spoke at the ISS, and that was something I'd wanted to do forever. And I didn't have to beg someone to be able to speak. I was just able to, I'm Damon, I'm the CEO in the company. I'm going to get up and talk to you about things that you don't normally get to hear about at these events. And that was it was an amazing moment for me and for Storage Shield. And I'm very proud and excited about that. I give long-winded answers, so I'm sorry.
No, I want to hear the backstory of what kind of led you to where you're at right now. And honestly, it kind of sounds like where you're right now with Storage Shield, it kind of feels like it's an alignment with you as a person and your values with what the kind of business this is turning into. So that's why I wanted to have you on to explain that. So that's fantastic. So
well, it's nice to be able to run a company in the vision that I see, right? And that when you have your business partners that have that same vision, it makes it just an easy next step.
So let's just, well, now that we kind of have that story, a little more details there with Storage Shield and this business. First off, again, let's kind of revisit it. What is it? What kind of value you bring into owners? And let's talk a bit more details on the results that you're bringing with owners. So go ahead.
So, for 10 years, and this will get brought up more and more, I think, for 10 years, I railed against protection programs because it's all about the risk of liability. And I was tenant insurance, and it's all about transfer of risk. And it's not lost on me that now all of a sudden I'm with the enemy, right? You've come to the dark side, which I think is ridiculous. But what I started learning towards the end of my tenure with insurance is there were things about protection plans that I didn't know. And because I have tried to be very transparent, I'm very passionate when I talk about most things, and I just, if I'm going to share knowledge, it's important. But with insurance, I started realizing there were some things about protection that maybe I didn't quite fully know, or to the extent. And I've always talked about about risk of liability. Why would you want to be the face of a claim? Why would you want to take on that risk? You invest in your store, you invest in your people, you build, you do all these different things. And then all of a sudden you're going to put yourself in the middle of a claim, when I, for 10 years, have been part of transferring the risk and having a side of us that we handle the service.
Sure.
So when I started realizing that the narrative was a little different, I realized, okay, there are things about this I need to change my talking points. And when I left Storable, I was fortunate enough to have a couple of protection companies start answering questions. And I will forever be grateful for that because of the knowledge I was able to learn. And what I learned is you can control protection from an ownership standpoint as a company, so that when you're working with owners, you actually can help reduce some of the risk or a lot of the risk that an owner operator can take, while also offering customer service. Or most programs are like a wholesale program where you're going to pay us very little, you're going to make a lot, and you're going to make all this revenue. And it's all about the amount of revenue with very minimal training and support. And I'm not saying that's a negative, but that's what I always talked against, because to me, you're making yourself part of the claim. So if you could have a system, and a few years ago, I said the day that someone gets up in front of a room and explains this, that'll be the day that protection changes a little bit. Yeah. I just didn't know that there was an opportunity that maybe some part of that could be. And this isn't, oh, Damon, I'm being a saint. It's just, I want to get up in front of people and explain what the big differences are between an insurance program and a protection, and how protection can help you. And it's not just stoking fear, about what the negatives are with protection. Yes, you acknowledge negligence and you take on some risk, but there are amazing positives to how it's done, but it's how the protection company is going to handle those. It's how is the service? Is there training? Well, what does the training look like? Well, what if it's training your managers one-on-one? What if it's making sure your managers, understand what they should say, understand what they shouldn't say, the process, how long it should take, and then what the end result. And then if you can have a company that can take the burden of that claim off your shoulders and work with the tenants one-on-one to make sure that that is being finalized and questions are being answered, and you don't put the manager or the owner in the middle, well, that's a very important piece to this, because that's not something that was happening for a long time when it came to the protection industry. At least not that I had ever dealt with and not that I had ever heard of. It was always just about revenue. And I'm fine with that, because listen, if you're an owner and you're going to be aggressive on offering this and you care about the revenue and that's your key factor, okay, mad respect to you. I think that's a great thing. But if you are an owner and you would like to make more revenue and you want to still do things the right way, you can do that with a protection plan. Most people don't understand that. And that's what we're doing.
I was gonna say, that's where the transparency comes in. You're laying it out there and explaining it to people. So
and I'm sure not everybody's going to be happy, and I'm certainly not trying to tick anybody off, but I mean, I'm not going to change who I am. I mean,
no.
this is why I'm here today, right? This is why I'm in this position. Like, it's all about making sure people have an understanding of what they're getting into. And I've told people recently, listen, I don't think protection is for you. I mean, I understand the risk, and that is a concern, and you should be talking to an insurance company. You should be doing this. And what's helped is I know the tenant insurance industry intimately.
Yep.
So I not only can help on my side, but I can then consult and try to get you connected, but make sure you're asking the right question. Make sure you know what you're getting into. And if someone is told something incorrectly, I have history, right? I understand, and I could say, I don't think that's what they meant. Here's what this is. Well, no, I was told it's this easy. No, it's not. Here is how it happens. Here's what you're going to go through with licensing. Here's what you need to be prepared for. And this is going to be your end result. You have to understand this is how it has to work. But if you do it right, you're going to have success. So I'm able to work on both sides of the aisle.
Well, that's why I wanted to have you on too, because it's a unique perspective where you've kind of been on both sides with tenant insurance and property protection. And like you say, you're laying it all out there. The owners can make their own decision. I mean, they're big boys and girls. They make their own decisions, but you're out there laying it out, the facts. So that's what's great.
You give them the facts, they still make their decision. More power to them. I think it's great, and you'll have my support and my ear when you do have questions, and that I get it.
And just give me for just a couple minutes here, if you don't mind, because I'm sure some people are watching this and listening going, okay, let's say I go with this, I go with Storage Shield. Can you kind of give us a 10,000-foot view of kind of what the steps would be to get people the result they're looking for?
So with the insurance forever, it's all about making it a pay with rent, and it really is how it should go. People always want to use the term, well, you got to mandate it. You have to make it mandatory. And all I'll say is this: if you're willing to lose a tenant renting because of a program like this, you don't have to, right? Because that's what mandatory is, right? You're only going to rent here if you take it. If you're not going to take it, then you can't rent here. I don't know many companies are doing that. The big boys, yeah, sure. I mean, you have REITs that mandate it, and it has to be, and your managers get in trouble if they're not doing it. So you can do it that way, but why? If you know that you can get 6 to 7 out of every 10 rentals just by following a specific approach that is trained, why wouldn't you do that instead of trying to make it an uber aggressive, uncomfortable? Because whether you're automated, manager, a mixture of everything, call center, someone is still at the other end at some point having to answer the question that's uncomfortable of what the heck's going on. So if you can just give some training and show them how 3 minutes can give you the success that you need, because no one's going to be 100%. No one should be 100%, right? Well, Damon, I'm 95% penetrated with insurance. I'm guaranteeing that you're probably saying something that's going to get you in trouble. It's just the way it is, because you should be 70. You can be 70 to 80, but there's a line you got to be careful of, especially on insurance. On protection, maybe it's not of deep of a line,
Yeah.
but you still have to be careful of what you're saying. And that's what we do. We teach you the ins and outs of what you should, what you shouldn't, how it can work, how should the process work over the counter, how should the process work online, how should it work over the phone. And it's having someone who understands self-storage. It's having a trainer who was a facility manager, who knows the ins and outs, who knows everything that a manager goes through. These are all things that I have found to be successful and effective, and we're just going to do it at a little different level. It's not just about, someone told me best with protection. My job isn't to give you service. My job is to do this. My job is to make sure you have the forms. My job is to give you 20 minutes to tell you what you have to do to sign them up, where they're going to go on that, and that's it. My job isn't to give you service because you're making a lot of revenue. Well, okay, I get that. That's fine. If you get it, that's fine. But what if you could get a really deep training, still make revenue, and know that when something happens, you are not in the middle or the face of a claim? That's power. That's a powerful thing to be able to tell somebody.
No, exactly. And that's why I would want people to actually have a one-on-one conversation with you, quite frankly, to be able to be educated and being transparent and be able to just show them that says there's more than one way to get the result you're looking for. And here's this option. Let me tell you about it. And you're in the perfect position to be able to do that and be the person to be able to have that kind of a conversation and explain that and just educate owners. Because that's why I want to do this, frankly, is that's one thing I'm seeing that's missing is just education. There's a lot of confusion around it, quite frankly. And so I wanted to have you on to be able to kind of cut through that and then give a way for people to reach out to you to have this conversation. That's all it is. I mean, it's not a hard sell, it's a conversation, and go from there. So what's the best way for people to reach out and have this conversation with you?
Well, our website, I actually am putting in a calendar link. So you actually can select the best day and time to be able to have a conversation with me. The website is www.storage-shield, and that's shield, SHIELD.com. You can also call me on my cell phone, which is 717-870-9572. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I will tell you that I'm traditionally pretty open. If I'm on a call or in a meeting, I will make sure that I get back to you. But those are going to be your best ways. And it is a conversation. It's not a, hey, give me information over email, although my email is damon@storage-shield.com. Do not email me asking, hey, what are your rates? Right? There has to be a conversation so you fully understand the ins and outs of what we're doing. This isn't I'm trying to sell you. There's a reason. And I need to understand what your reason is just as much as you need to understand what my reason is. And then together it becomes a partnership.
No, perfect. That's a great way to frame it. It is a partnership. You're not just on your own. That's why I wanted to have you on and talk about this, because it's a partnership. Yeah,
it is.
So good. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and going through this. Again, we'll have all the links wherever this is getting posted. Thank you so much for your time, Damon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Jim. I really do. This means a lot. Thank you.
Sounds good. Take care. Bye. As a thank you for watching and listening, I'd like to give you the most incredible free gift ever, designed to increase your leads, rentals, and revenue for your self-storage business. It's called the Ultimate Self-Storage Management Playbook, and it contains courses, past summits, my book, and so much more. You can get all of this for free right now at 3milestorage.com. That's the number 3milestorage.com.